everyone. I'm Symphony Privet. Thank you for joining us here on Featured. We hope to inspire or simply make you smile with uplifting stories across the country. One first-time author in San Diego is sharing her inspirational story. Here's Jeff Zevely with the details.
When you spend your whole life proving people wrong, that makes for some strong material to write your own book.
The first story I remember hearing, and I heard it repeatedly through my life, this child will be a vegetable for the rest of her life.
61-year-old Terry Seary knew she'd ruffle some feathers when she named her book
Pretty for a Crippled Girl. And I know because nowadays that's not very politically correct, but you have to remember, I grew up in the 70s, 80s.
Terry was born with cerebral palsy, and that meant receiving some awful insults.
People would say to me all the time, "Oh, you're really pretty for a crippled girl," instead of just, "You're really pretty."
That little girl shrugged it all off, and all these years later, you should hear her sister Tammy brag about her.
She's such a good person. She's just kind, she's generous, she's funny. She has a filthy mouth.
Tammy and other family members have been asking Terry to write a memoir for years.
I read it in less than a day. It was so good.
Because in it, Terry shares everything from a successful career to a life without limits.
I wanted to have adventure and travel and be in love.
She's done all of that and more. Terry and her boyfriend Klaus seek out adventure despite the naysayers.
Because you have to convince people that I can do it.
From skiing to bungee jumping and even skydiving from a plane.
Oh, I was giggling.
Maybe her biggest fear was the book release and having to sign all of those autographs.
And I was never a fan of public speaking, and now look what's happened.
I asked Terry to take a walk with me.
I think sometimes people, when they watch me walk, they think I'm struggling, but it's just the way that I walk.
The Easter Seal poster girl from 1969 waited her whole life to make this announcement.
You know, life is good, and people don't have to say, "Oh, God, poor Terry, she's disabled," but it's not that way at all.
She can do anything.
Terry turned pretty for a crippled girl into redemption.
Life is not bad. I just want people to know if something happened to you or whatever, you can still have a full, happy life.
In the Zevely Zone,
Nothing holds her back.
Jeff Zevely.
A new museum is set to open this fall to more widely share the stories of Minnesota veterans. Stories being brought to life by a Minnesota sculptor. Boyd Hupert gives us a sneak peek at some of his premier pieces and the woman behind one of his warriors in the works.
I'm just going to start working here.
Even when he's working alone.
Yeah.
David Geister isn't.
I never get lonely. I always have somebody in the studio with me.
For the past 2 weeks, he's been with someone special.
Kay Bauer, she is a Vietnam War nurse.
2 weeks that started a year and a half ago.
I was tasked with creating at least 13 named Minnesota veterans.
Veterans whose stories will be featured here. The soon-to-be-completed Minnesota Military and Veterans Museum, opening in September near Little Falls, a 40,000-square-foot tribute to those who served, funded with $40 million in public and private donations.
The whole mission of the Minnesota Military and Veterans Museum is to tell the stories of Minnesota warriors. There you are.
And those guests keeping David company?
They'll walk us through Minnesota military history from the Civil War to the War on Terror.
Including Patrick Taylor, who buried his brother Isaac at Gettysburg.
This fellow right here is Chuck Lindbergh, and he is one of the Iwo Jima flag raisers.
All Minnesotans.
General John Vesey, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff.
Mostly
Virginia Lane Fraser.
departed.
A woman who was a World War II veteran.
Which makes notable David's time with Kay.
I'm the short one.
From her early days in the smallest men's uniform they had.
Then they hand you an M14 and I fell over.
The Navy nurse moved on to spend a year
This is me.
in a primitive South Vietnam hospital.
She has the most delightful smile. If I was looking up, wounded on a gurney or something, and you'd see this face peer down at you, looking into those eyes and thinking, I think it's going to be okay, I think I'm going to be all right.
David has a soft spot for those who care for warriors.
I spent 4 years in the United States Marines when I was a young man.
Then
This is a painting I did for the National Park Service.
the self-taught artist started caring for veterans in his own way
The Battle of Gettysburg.
by painting their stories.
Yeah, this is typically what I do.
These sculpting skills are new for David, honed specifically for this project.
It makes me a little nervous because Kay is going to be able to look at this.
With the permission of the artist,
Can I show you something?
Yes, sir.
we decided to give Kay
This isn't done yet.
a preview.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Look at that. Oh, can you believe that? I am. Oh, my goodness gracious.
The 89-year-old has told none of her friends about this,
I'm just afraid to tell them.
in case you didn't love her enough
That would be bragging.
already.
I can't do that.
I'm really looking forward to painting her eyes.
For David and Kay and the rest of his company, another mission.
This is without a doubt the most meaningful project I've ever worked on.
Boyd Hubert.
I have to heat up.
That is incredible. Okay, now what you're about to see is one of the last of its kind across America. Every week, people from Washington, D.C. and beyond drive to Baltimore for an experience they once thought was lost. Instead, they find an inspiring and thriving community. Here's Sean Martinelli.
The building sticks out like an ejected DVD, and if we were to push in the disc, it would kind of feel like a Twilight Zone, a world with no Netflix, no Hulu, no YouTube.
And you often hear when people come in for the first time this like deep breath and exhale of relief, like places like this still exist.
Places like the now largely extinct video rental store.
It was like, that scene from Clerks where he goes into Big Choice Video and he just kind of goes, oh. Because he's able to have choices.
Outside of here, customers have choices. Some say too many choices.
That might be more tenuous than we fully realize.
A realization Eric Hatch had back in 2014.
A group of us got together, thinking what a loss it would be if Baltimore didn't have that collection anymore.
Eric's referring to the collection at the long-standing Video Americaine. He worked there with Greg Galinsky.
And then we have, the horror and the cult stuff.
When Video Americaine closed in 2014, employees staged a plot twist. They came up with the concept of Beyond Video. Ever since,
it's become kind of a floodgate of support.
They run this place as a nonprofit. Employees are volunteers.
My day job is actually with New Next Film Festival.
Well, interestingly, I work for the rival film festival from Eric.
Members pay a monthly fee to access everything from Casablanca to The Toxic Avenger. The store started with 9,000 titles.
To 42,000 titles renting now in 2026.
And people will come in and they're like, wow, this is great. And then when they figure out that there's a whole nother floor, like you can almost see their heads explode.
But beyond these videos,
what they are looking for also is sort of reconnecting with themselves as a movie lover.
For the shop's hundreds of members,
kind of feels like coming home.
This store is a comeback tale.
It felt like it had come back from, like video stores came back from the dead.
A tale as good as anything on the shelf.
Sometimes you just want to, hold on to the movies.
But maybe the best part of this shop?
We're bringing everything back that people miss about video stores except the late fees.
No late fees, just the much welcome charge of nostalgia. In Baltimore, Maryland, Sean Martinelli.
All right, coming up after the break, from high school sweethearts to Prom king and queen. Decades later, how a couple in Arizona is reliving their prom night from 1984. And ahead of the next half hour, students at one Connecticut school are getting some help from a canine companion. We'll tell you how Lily, the Labrador, is making a difference. Welcome back. A couple in Texas is being recognized as heroes after stopping a runaway SUV. And now authorities say the driver behind the wheel had a heart attack, putting lives in danger. The couple's quick thinking helped save the driver and others on the road. Here's Henry Ramos.
And Renee, let me present this to you for such a great job you did.
Thank you.
That's hero stuff you did.
Thank you.
An honor for a quick-thinking hero.
Oh, no!
It was March 5th when Rene Villarreal Albe and his wife Andrea saw an SUV swerving out of control on the lanes of 410. Andrea began recording, and that is when they say behind the wheel was an unconscious man. It would later turn out he had just suffered a heart attack.
That's when we realized, okay, he's not going to stop and he could hurt more people. So we took action.
KENS 5 Sue Kalberg spoke to the couple the next day.
So I was just really worried about his well-being, seeing his state, like that. It was terrible. I don't wish that upon nobody.
The two used their own car to stop the out-of-control 4Runner, and a nurse who saw it all happening stopped to give CPR.
They did a great job saving this individual's life and other people's lives as well.
Friday morning, the couple was honored by the San Antonio Police Department, who gave them the Life-Saving Award. Villarreal Albe has been in contact with the man he helped save.
I'm sure we'll meet one time at least. He's internally grateful. He's glad our paths have crossed.
That was Henry Ramos reporting from San Antonio. It just shows how being in the right place at the right time can make a huge difference. Now, when asked if he considers himself a hero, he said the recognition he's been getting since his actions went viral has been overwhelming. Oh, an Arizona couple whose love story started more than 4 decades ago is getting a second trip to prom. Greg and Karma Kearns got to relive a night they shared back in 1984. And there's one small detail that makes the story even more special. The original prom dress still fits. Kyle Simchuk has their story.
There's something about getting ready for prom. The stress, the butterflies, the hope. For most of us, prom is a single chapter.
There, I got it.
For Greg and Karma Kearns, it's the whole book.
She was such a cute, kind, smart person. I just loved being around her.
This is Greg and Karma at prom in Goodland, Kansas back in 1984. After graduation, the couple briefly went to different colleges until Karma made it clear.
A lot of parties, formals that I would be attending, and I would need a date, and he was far away, so he relocated.
A few years later, they were married, started a family, and built successful careers as accountants.
We retired a little bit earlier, and here we are.
Now 59, Greg and Karma live at Robeson Ranch in Eloy. These days, life includes pickleball, golf, and apparently, senior prom.
Well, the king and queen will be crowned by Elvis.
Ron Hunt hosted the first prom last year. It was a hit.
I think they're mostly over their insecurities too, and the tenseness that you might have when you're in junior or senior year in school. So it should be more relaxed for sure, and just more laughter and fun than what I remember of our proms.
Karma isn't just going to prom. She's wearing the exact same dress she wore in 1984.
And I had already bought the dress, hoping he was going to ask me.
She looks amazing. She hasn't aged a bit.
The senior prom at Robeson Ranch is meant to bring back a little bit of that magic. And the Kearns aren't the only high school sweethearts here tonight.
There are 5 couples who went to prom together. One couple was 1963.
It looks a lot like a traditional prom.
Very much like, except the bar's open.
For Greg and Karma, the secret to 42 years together isn't complicated.
Common interests. The things we do, we love to do the things together. You just kind of adjust as you age, but you always find time to spend time together.
And sometimes you revisit the past. Greg and Karma weren't crowned in '84, but 42 years later.
This is our prom king and queen.
Their love story is a reminder. Sometimes the person you take to prom really can be your forever date.
You stick together when you find someone you love.
80, Kyle Simchuk.
Awesome story. I love that they got to relive that night all these years later. All right, coming up next on Featured, a family in Idaho is celebrating a miracle. Their 7-year-old daughter survived leukemia and septic shock. Watch her first steps across the hospital sky bridge and meet the team of doctors she calls heroes.
So many miracles, so many people at the right time, touching our lives, touching Violet's life, making the right decisions when nobody knew the answer.
A family in Idaho is celebrating what they're calling a miracle. 7-year-old Violet Thompson recently survived the fight of her young life. She was diagnosed with leukemia and almost died because of a rare and dangerous complication. Maggie O'Mara has her story and how she survived it thanks to some special heroes.
Honestly, leukemia blindsided us. We didn't even think it was cancer. It just came out of nowhere.
7-year-old Violet Thompson was just 6 when she was diagnosed with leukemia in September.
A week later is when she had a severe complication and went into septic shock. They ended up doing a bedside surgery to take out part of her intestine, and then that's what saved her that day. We had to keep doing chemotherapy even while she was recovering from her abdominal surgery. We didn't have a choice. At the end of that month, we found out she was in recovery, remission, complete remission. But then we also found out she had 3 different perforations in her abdomen again. So we started from square one all over.
Violet was rushed into emergency surgery again. She was a very sick little girl.
The doctor came back and it was just like, we're in uncharted waters. He was like, I don't have answers because most people don't make it past the first time, let alone a second time. When she woke up, all she could do was move her eyes. She couldn't move any arms, she couldn't move her legs, she couldn't move her head.
I was kind of scared.
Day by day, she would move her arms. And then the day she moved her legs, everybody celebrated. And then she was able to start sitting up and holding herself up.
All right, both hands, 1, 2, 3.
And then we started the inpatient rehab here, which was great because this is a new program here in Boise. Most times we would have had to go to Salt Lake. And so the fact that we got to stay here and keep our family together was just incredible.
Violet's mom is so grateful for the excellent care she received at St. Luke's Children's Hospital.
Everybody was so diligent, day in, day out, taking care of her.
After a long
5 months,
Violet was finally cleared to go home. She dressed up in pink for the occasion.
Violet! Oh my gosh, Violet!
It's a graduation, the inpatient rehab graduation.
Her medical team wanted to send her off in a really special way, so they lined up on the sky bridge.
Everybody that lined these halls all touched Violet's life, and we're part of her care team. We know each of them by name. They were all here. They were all cheering Violet on as she's walking these hallways, getting stronger.
She crossed that bridge with the help of her walker, surrounded by so much love.
Who saved you? Tell them.
Jesus.
And
Doctors.
That's right.
But what did you miss at home?
My baby sister, Claire. My brothers and sisters.
Hopefully, this is just a memory, and everything, she comes out of this just like anybody else, like a regular kiddo.
But this goodbye, this is something Violet and her family will never forget.
Every single face. I will never have the words to thank them enough, because what they've done for our life is just unbelievable.
Violet has a special message for her care team.
Thank you, nurses and doctors, for saving my life and taking care of me. Love you guys.
That was Maggie O'Mara reporting from Idaho. Now, Violet still has chemotherapy rounds ahead of her to fight the leukemia. Her last treatment is set for December 2027, but she is thriving at home with her family. Great update to that one. Still ahead, it's not a prescription, but patients say it's exactly what they need. We'll introduce you to the Central Ohio doctor who uses music as medicine and turning redevelopment into investment. How one former University of Georgia player is giving back to the community that invested in him. Hey there, thank you for staying with us here on Featured. I'm Symphony Privet, and we are continuing to bring you uplifting stories across the country. A woman in Texas is seeking solace through crocheting. She has crafted more than 500 scarves for fellow military moms, forging a supportive community. Here's Kevin Reese with more.
Come here. It's too draining. I'm an introvert. I'm happy being at home.
Happy and content until the day Denise Bush
I was devastated.
watched her son, her baby,
All I did was cry and be scared. I was a nervous wreck.
leave Fort Worth to join the Navy.
It was terrible having an empty nest.
And the best therapy this introvert can find.
He's a therapy dog. That's what he thinks he is.
With 2 dogs named Cutie Pie and a pug named Mr. Wednesday,
He watches and makes sure I do what I'm supposed to.
is to sit in her easy chair and crochet.
I crochet every day. It's helped me not worry. I tell you what it is doing. It's keeping me sane.
And it dawned on her one day that maybe there were other moms worried sick just like her
God said, hey,
and in need of a stitch of sanity too.
I want you to make scarves for all the Navy moms that want one.
She found a Facebook group for military moms, offered to crochet personalized scarves for free.
They all feel exactly like you do, whether you know it or not.
And that was about 500 scarves ago.
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I am in Saratoga Springs, Utah.
I am currently living in Alaska.
Military moms across the country
I wear it every day to work.
proudly wear the gift of a Fort Worth introvert
When I put this on, it's like, just reminds me that they're going to be okay.
for all the world to see.
To be able to walk around my hometown and have this with me, it's like taking my babies with me everywhere I go.
They're very simple stitches, but somehow, I think it's magic when it gets to the mom and the mom puts it on. It looks beautiful to me too, and moms are so happy.
But there was a happiness that Denise was desperately seeking too. She's an introvert for a reason.
And it's considered a manageable form of leukemia.
Yes.
Acute lymphocytic leukemia, a treatable form of that disease. But 30 years ago, her own mom got the exact same diagnosis, one that made her so distraught that Nancy Calloway ended her own life.
She hadn't learned a way to cope with that kind of news, right?
And there wasn't a lot to be done. You just got sick and passed 30 years ago.
Which was when I noticed.
Yep, she's always here.
Her mom was in the room with us.
She would like that I was doing these. She would tell me how beautiful they are and how proud she is of me.
That pride and the sanity Denise is looking for
There is a healing to the crocheting for sure.
is giving her something to live for with every stitch.
It makes me feel connected to the military moms. I know they miss their kids too.
Denise, I adore you.
Miss Denise, you are a blessing. What she's weaving here, she's connecting us.
We're a whole village. We support each other, and wearing this just reminds me every day that no matter how hard my day is, there's so many other moms going through the same thing.
I feel so blessed that they like them.
So in that corner of a small house in Fort Worth, with a sometimes snoring pug keeping guard, Denise Bush keeps crocheting and connecting a family of military moms while mending the frayed pieces
It's more of a blessing to me than it is to them.
of her own life too.
Mr. Wednesday, you can't get pug hair on here.
In Fort Worth.
Come on.
I'm Kevin Reese.
One doctor at a hospital in Ohio is taking a unique approach to patient care. He is using music to help lift spirits and help people through some of the toughest moments. Jay Plyburn shows us how it's making a difference.
Inside this intensive care unit where life-changing diagnoses are delivered daily, there's a different kind of medicine making the rounds.
My name's Josh Norman, and I'm a physician here at Ohio State.
After the consultations are done, Dr. Josh Norman swaps out the clipboard for his favorite instrument.
I started bringing the guitar in rounds, and it's been really special to see how impactful music can be and how transformative it can be in the hospital environment.
A psychiatrist by training, but a musician at heart, he's using music to reach patients in a way medicine alone sometimes can't.
It really introduces humanism into medicine, and it's a way for people to kind of be reminded of who they are before being admitted here.
The units on this floor are built for critical care, but workers say the impromptu concerts have been a nice change.
When you have laughter and music, it distracts you and it takes you to a different place so you can cope better.
And we get a lot of the sickest patients in Central Ohio. To bring a little light to our unit is one of our favorite things for our patients, but also as nurses. It brings a lot of light to us.
And that light tends to spread quickly.
We were just having a normal Friday on our unit, and we just hear like loud, guitar playing and singing.
I looked down the hall and I saw Josh playing, and I started dancing myself.
Room to room, patient to patient, turning long hospital stays into moments of connection.
We talk a lot about like physical health and well-being, but mental health and how we think and how we feel on the day-to-day gets forgotten a lot as practitioners, but also for our patients.
And for the patients, those moments can mean everything.
I asked my nurse, hey, can you grab him? Because I'd like to have him come and play for me.
Sam Hassler is a nurse himself, now on the other side of care, recovering from heart surgery.
It's uplifting and it's fun. It takes your mind off of the bad things that are going on.
Wellness, not measured in charts or test results, but perhaps something just as powerful.
Yeah, I honestly think I do more with this guitar sometimes than I do with 13 years of medical training.
Do you think that music can be used as a medicine?
I think so. I certainly feel better after hearing that. It brightens my spirits.
Proof that sometimes the best medicine sounds like this. In Columbus, Jay Plyburn.
Now we are taking you to a school in Connecticut now that has taken on a pet project of sorts. New to the classroom is a lovable one-year-old black lab named Lily. We're told she loves her new job. She's also getting some help from another facility dog, a retired police canine named Heidi. Here's Jim Altman with their story.
She's a bit lower profile, but the newest staff member here at the Village School in North Haven has quickly become their most popular employee.
Come sit on the mat and Lily's gonna come see you.
Both the kids,
She's gonna get comfy on you.
and the canines have gone to the head of the class in North Haven.
Yep, she's just getting situated.
This is the ACES Village School, where Lily is now part of the learning day.
As you can see, she likes to kiss quite a bit.
13-month-old black lab Lily and her mentor, 7-year-old Heidi, are facility dogs.
Go ahead, give her a hug too, double hugs.
Lily arrived here just days ago, joining social worker and handler Kim Roach.
She loves it. She comes in every day wagging her tail. And to see them with the kids that have challenges and how it helps them focus, how it helps them calm down, it's priceless.
Lily and Heidi have a pedigree. They came to Connecticut from the Puppies Behind Bars program.
Come around, you want to pet her belly?
Retired Yale police veteran, now ACES school security officer Rich Simons is Heidi's handler.
Puppies Behind Bars is a wonderful nonprofit organization based out of New York that trains service dogs, facility dogs, and bomb detection dogs.
We saw the program firsthand in 2021.
Yes, good. Watch me. Good girl. Katie, get it.
This is the maximum security Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in Westchester County, New York, where inmates are the trainers. And Heidi and Lily have gone from inside prison walls to the bustling school halls.
To be taught by the prisoners, they do such an incredible job. The connection they get, the emotional support that they get while they're doing it, they're giving back, but they are so good at their job.
And for students like Jace and Jackson.
You want her to sit with you?
Adding some lab work to the school day.
You remind me of the best dog in the world.
Well, that grade's high.
And maybe that kid just needs a hug, needs to be a little loved, and these dogs are there for them. Dogs have a way of touching these kids' hearts that we can't do.
It's amazing to see. I'm seeing magic already. I feel like every school should have a dog for the connection, if not two.
I love that story. I wish we had a station dog. That was Jim Altman reporting from Connecticut. Now, a former University of Georgia football player is giving back in a big way. He is turning a hotel redevelopment into an opportunity to help people in need. Before construction begins on a local hotel, developers made a different kind of investment, one focused on the people who call the community home. Caitlin Ross reports.
If you take the trip down 316 now heading to Athens for a game day, you understand what's happening in that area and the growth that's going on. And if you're in Athens outside of football season, you understand that there's a lot more to the city of Athens than just the University of Georgia.
Drew Butler, a former kicker for the University of Georgia, helped lead the effort to donate furniture, appliances, and supplies from the hotel instead of sending them to a landfill.
With the hotel and a lot of rooms, there was a bunch of stuff that weren't going to be used in redevelopment, and we just didn't want it to go to land dumps. So we worked with local county officials and the county commissioner to ensure that these items, which are in great shape, would be put into the hands of people who could use them most.
Those donations are now supporting several Georgia nonprofits, including the Atlanta Mission, Athens Habitat for Humanity Restore, the Food Bank of Northeast Georgia, and Advantage Behavioral Health Systems.
They're going to end up being used by people who need them most.
That was Caitlin Ross reporting. Butler says Athens is more than just a college town, and he hopes this effort shows how development can make a difference beyond game day. Well, after years of challenges, one family in Atlanta is celebrating a life-changing milestone and a moment centered on giving a kid the chance to just be a kid. At 15 years old, Beck Camarada has some big goals and a sport he loves. He plays power soccer. That's a competitive game designed for athletes who use power wheelchairs. For Beck, it's more than just a game. It's independence, it's joy, but getting there hasn't always been easy. Beck was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy when he was just 5 years old. As the disease progresses, even something as simple as transportation becomes more difficult and at times unsafe. For his family, it became one of their biggest challenges. So they did something that's not always easy. They asked for help. Through the JET Foundation's Accessible Vehicle Fund, the family got a fully accessible van. Check it out. So now, for the first time in a long time, Beck's entire family can travel together safely. Oh, I love that one. And I'm so glad that they were able to get a hold of this van. I actually interviewed a young lady who had the same condition, and it just takes a toll on the entire family. So nice to see this happy ending. All right, coming up next on Featured, a high school in Ohio, their band had their instruments stolen just moments before they were set to perform in Disney. Oh gosh, well, how a lot of people came together to make sure they wouldn't miss a beat. A high school marching band from Ohio traveled to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida for the band trip of a lifetime, only to have their instruments stolen. Yikes, but some good people stepped up so the band could play on. Sia New Yorker has the story.
For members of the Ashland High School Marching Band, their spring break trip down to Walt Disney World hit a sour note when it was discovered thieves stole instruments out of their trailer.
It's a mixture of shock and sadness. All those feelings that you would typically go through when you encounter a loss or something upsetting.
Band director Marty Krall and assistant band director Cameron Dietrich tell 3 News more than a dozen instruments were stolen late Saturday night from in front of their hotel. Flutes, clarinets, saxophones, and trumpets. But with the clock ticking, they sprang into action to make sure the show would go on. The band was scheduled to perform Monday at Disney Springs. And so they called on the music and arts community. 2 stores down in Florida stepped up to replace the stolen instruments, and Mike's Music Corner here in Ashland also made arrangements.
and they were able to rent them for a month down there to get instruments in the students' hands so they could have something to play for the parade. And then what our role will be, when those students come back to town, when the month is up, they'll return them, and they can return them here, and we can take care of the paperwork and either have them continue to rent.
Mission accomplished.
We figured out we were missing instruments around 8 a.m. and then right around 12:30 a.m. the next day, we had everything secured so every kid could play yesterday. It was a great moment.
The Ashland High School Marching Band performed at Disney Springs, not missing a beat.
It was fantastic. I mean, when, we called them to attention from that moment and they yell out AHS, I mean, it was unified and strong, and from there, it was great.
That was the New Yorker reporting. Those band leaders told us many of those students have had the instrument that were stolen for more than 7 years, so it's part of who they are. Orange County Sheriff's Office there in Florida says it is investigating and reviewing surveillance footage. But kudos to the students in that marching band for not missing a beat. High school students aren't always engaged in the classroom, but as one teacher in Texas found out, to get them excited, just feed them. I think that works on adults too. Sean Giggy explains the hunger for dinner and success.
We're just rocking and rolling.
Nicole Francois' incubator class here at Louisville High School is all business.
There are adults in the room. People, come say hello.
By the end of the year, students will be full-fledged entrepreneurs, owning and operating their own small business.
That's the amazing part of this class.
But to get a taste of that reality, Nicole says they must first get a taste of pizza.
Like, this is as real as it's gonna get.
It is so good. Sweet Jesus, that's how good it is. If you have any questions for me, of course, I'm happy to answer them.
Working with Greg Tierney, owner of Motor City Pizza, the students were divided into 2 teams. Each created its own pizza. One, called Larry Monster,
it's a barbecue chicken pizza with jalapenos and onions.
The other, Sweet Jesus.
Caramelized carne asada on top.
I saw that and I'm like, you know what, that's a good idea.
They spent time in the classroom figuring out costs, profit margins, and a marketing strategy.
How to just gain and attract people to come try the pizza.
And then Greg put the pizzas on his menu.
It really felt real at that moment.
Over the course of 2 weeks, whichever team turns the greatest profit wins.
You get to see the work behind the scenes and how a business really operates on a spreadsheet.
I feel like we just learned how to experience the business in real world time.
It became the perfect example.
Nicole says this kind of knowledge is already paying dividends.
I have a kid that's selling pies and he's out earning me. You know, I mean, that's not hard to do, but...
That's why, she says, this pizza challenge was never about who wins or loses. It's about an experience that will serve the kids far beyond high school. Although, if you ask them, victory would be pretty fulfilling.
Even better than the pizza itself, because it'll be a good comeback.
I have hope because of these kids. I always have.
Pizza, a good life lesson. Any way you slice it. In Louisville, I'm Sean Giggy.
Students from Texas A&M showed up at a nonprofit armed with equipment and a mission, turning what they learned in the classroom into an act of service. Here's Sydney Walker with the details.
For engineering students,
so let's start looking at it.
In Dr. Praveen Malali's Energy Technologies class.
This course uses a learning/teaching technique called service learning.
The community is their classroom.
I'm measuring the luminosity of this room.
Students like sophomore Francis Mariba conducted a free energy audit.
We're going around the building, assessing how it uses energy and how it can be more efficient, like where it could save money on.
Putting their months of training to the test.
As like engineers, we learn a lot. It's like really cool to like not only learn, but put it into practice.
But also giving back.
Students essentially provide service free of cost, and in doing so, learn the material.
Going room by room.
I brought 2 ladders.
Counting light bulbs, checking fridges, and taking notes. An assessment that usually costs hundreds.
We were looking at any insulation gaps, any sort of warm spots.
Senior Mary Lee and her classmates will then put their minds together and give feedback.
Once we're able to run our report, we'll be able to look at our data more closely and give the most accurate suggestions.
Helping community partners work as efficiently as they can.
Just even the questions like that they have of like, oh, I didn't even think about that, or I don't know that information.
Alicia Jala said Helping Hands is grateful.
We're always looking at ways for us to be able to be more efficient in our operations.
Going beyond textbooks and making a real difference.
They can see how what they're learning has a societal impact.
And that was Sydney Walker reporting from Texas. The students spent months learning the equipment before even stepping foot into the building. Their final report goes right back to the nonprofit, free of charge. Great one there. All right, coming up, one of Colorado's rising social media stars, strolling the streets on 4 legs. We will introduce you to Donkey the Donkey and his inspiring story. One of the biggest rising stars on social media right now in Colorado is actually a donkey. Matt Renaud has his story.
Donkey's a big star, and it's all happened in just a couple of months. The Walking Donkey Instagram page, hundreds of thousands of followers, and when Jordan Chompalou takes his pet donkey for a walk around Frisco, everyone gathers around. They bring out their cameras for pictures, all for the chance to see a donkey being walked in the mountains. In downtown Frisco, you'll see a lot of people out with their pets.
You know this walk. We've done this one 3 times now.
And that includes Jordan Chompalou with a true American classic. His donkey.
Just with a donkey.
Named Donkey.
This would be my donkey. Donkey.
That get a lot of attention on the streets.
Because this is unusual.
And social media, where Donkey's Instagram page, The Walking Donkey, has blown up.
Donkey's social media's exploded way faster than we ever expected. And I think people just enjoy the genuine content. I think it just makes people happy and it just makes people smile.
With people's ears perking up.
That is awesome.
When they see this donkey, from police officers.
I drove by, I was like, wait a second.
And even Colorado Congressman Joe Neguse grabbing their phones, calling family members.
Yeah, he's so cute.
All to see a donkey and his best friend out for a walk.
With Donkey, we've met everyone from the congressman to the commissioner of Summit County. We've met all of the sheriff's department, all the police department, and also just everyone in our community. Whenever we go out for walks, we have a lot of people who recognize him, who come up and say hi. They know who he is. And so it brings the community together through something so simple, just walking a donkey.
There it is, got my own picture there with Donkey. You know, Jordan was working on a small farm and he saw that Donkey was being neglected, not taken care of properly, so he took Donkey, got into some legal troubles for doing that, and after getting through all of that, now is legally able to keep Donkey. They're best friends and spend their time together. He says the best thing about walking Donkey around is in a political time where everyone is very divisive, just about everyone can gather around the fact that it's cool to see a guy and his donkey walking around mountains of Colorado. Reporting from Frisco, I'm Matt Renaud, 9 News.
All right, that's it for Featured. Until next time, make it a great one.